Recording.
There it is. Has it been smooth, like consistently for
Yeah,
ages?
it has been actually.
I'm so proud of us.
We're pretty solid.
Just a, just a couple of queens that we are. We love it.
Yes.
Hi. Welcome back to Oddities. I'm Cassie.
I'm Kelly.
Welcome back to Strange Town.
Oddities. Stay strange.
Bitches.
Witches.
Witches, bitches. As per usual, as you all know and love, we'll be wasting your time for the next 13 minutes. But outside of that, we do have links to all of our fun, magical things in the description, including our social media. And what else do we have there? Our Patreon, if you'd like to donate to our show. Would love that. Please consider doing so. We also have a link to our merch store. I think Boobies is technically wrapped up by this point, but it's available still.
Yeah, no
And
matter what, throughout the entire year, we'll still be whatever's purchased
yeah,
from that, we will be donating. So,
donate 100% of it, which is coolness. And what am I missing? I feel like I'm missing. Oh, well, our website, which has links to all of these things. And should you feel compelled to share a story with us, just say hi. If you have some subjects you'd like for us to cover, what have you, you can message us through our website or at oddities.talk@gmail.com, or of course through social media. Though I gotta be honest, it is a little easier when it comes in through email. Just
yes,
saying, because
agreed.
it's all in one consolidated space. So, how's my borsty?
My bestie, your bestie, my bestie, oh bestie.
Oh,
Uh,
bestie, my bestie.
it's been a garbage week, but I'm thrilled to be here with you, as you know. It's
Garbage.
whenever we record, it's like literally makes everything substantially better.
Just like a little happy hug around the soul, right?
Yeah, it is. It is the happiest hug around the soul. So there's that. I I love that this morning I was like, I'm sorry I rotted like a potato yesterday and was dead to the world. And you're like, you're fine. Why are you apologizing?
Yeah, I'm like, why are you doing that? Stop.
I just felt
Immediately
bad that I wasn't
stop.
there for you.
You weren't there for me. There wasn't anything to be there for me on. It's all
But what if
good.
you needed me?
I mean, what if? But we're golden. You know, we're thriving.
So,
My
but
mouse
yeah.
jiggler's jiggling.
Other than that, it's 90 degrees and I hate everything. Um,
Same.
the highlight to, besides recording is that I painted two really cool pumpkins this week. One's
You did.
Bluey,
You killed it.
one's Jack. So I'm not mad.
Not mad. And when Kelly sent me the pictures, my immediate response, because at first I only saw Bluey, and I said, "Is that fucking Bluey?" I knew it. I don't even
Yep.
watch Bluey, and I knew it. I was like, "There it is. That's fucking Bluey."
Yep. Bluey is mwah, in this house. So
Jack looks great. All of it looks great. You killed it.
thank you very much. So yeah,
S-
that's my life. How are you, my bestie?
We're good. We're just embracing the non-stop slip into madness, and that's fine. Work is garbage, but I have a job, so
There
we'll
you
take
go.
it. You
Silver
know,
lining.
that paycheck hits every 2 weeks, so that's that. I am coming up on my 36-hour adventure to Las Vegas. All we can hope for is a not bumpy flight. And by I mean four not bumpy flights, because I have to take four flights round
Yep.
trip. And you know, I'll be there absolutely wasting my time and my company's money. And there you have it. So that's my take on that. I am making my way through some spookala bookala movies, as it is still October when we're recording this.
I am doing the same. Michael and I are on a comedy horror kick.
Wonderful. What are you watching?
Oh, what's on the list right now? We're about to watch. Um, this one is definitely a parody on Stranger Things. Um,
Wonderful.
and then
Spectacular. Give me 14 of them.
give me 14. Um, oh gosh, what's the name of the one we're gonna watch tonight? It's she's like goes back to the 80s to try to save her mom's friends.
Oh, yes. Yes. Um, like
Totally
Totally
Killer.
Killer.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
So
Okay.
we're looking forward to watching that. But like we had put that on the list, and then that opened a door to all these horror comedy movies.
I love horror
And
comedies.
Michael
Can
and
you?
I just like looked at each other and we're like, "It's happening."
There it is. There it is. I need you to inform me how you like that one because like, I'm considering watching it. I am ashamed to say I have not yet watched Ghostbusters this season,
Oh,
so it will be happening this weekend.
that's
Um,
solid.
I am watching one. It's not a horror movie at all, but it's on Netflix and it's called Girl Haunts Boy. And it's actually, I mean, it's garbage, but it's actually pretty cute so far. It's like a little spooky rom-com. So,
I think this week I'm gonna rent because it's available for streaming now. I'm gonna be renting Beetlejuice too.
yes, bitch. It was so good. I worked it at the local theater. It
Was it
was
good?
great.
I
Yes,
have
it
managed
was
to
good.
avoid all spoilers. I think so.
Okay. I mean, of course, Winona Ryder is chef's kiss in it. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, no, you're gonna like that one. I was really pleased with it. And so I'm still, anyway, we're working our way through spooky movies where we can because like my mom doesn't do spooky, and
No, she doesn't.
a lot of times we're all watching, hanging out and watching together at night. And so right now, so like we've been watching like Casper, my boyfriend Casper. We watched like
Hocus Pocus.
Hocus Pocus, all of the Halloween towns except for the fourth one.
Garbage.
Uh, I've never seen it, mostly because they just like replaced Marnie, and they were like,
You know, she
"Psych."
spilled the tea on that.
I heard a little bit about this.
She was just like that they recasted her and didn't even say anything.
That's
Like
cold.
she was shocked about it.
Yeah, I would be
Like,
too.
uh,
She married what Calabar's son in real life
yeah,
in the second
it's
movie.
so cute. I follow them on TikTok. They're adorable.
She has an Etsy store, so I gotta look at her shit. But anyway, so we're watching like that vein of Spookala Bookala movies. Like we also watch like Shaun of the Dead and like stuff like that. So
Do you know what I have added to my list that will be watched one very late night while I know that my children are asleep? It was
hit me.
unlocked. Because again, I was just scrolling for streaming and it was unlocked for me. Drag Me to Hell. Did you ever see
I
that
don't
one?
even know.
Oh my god, it is so good. Oh my gosh. Who's the
Okay.
guy in it? Because first off, I love the dude, but I can never remember his name. But this one is a good one. And like I said, we were just scrolling looking at different Halloween movies to watch. I saw it and I was like, memory unlocked. Freshman year of high school, I went to see it with all my friends. It was so good. Justin
What a
Long.
time to be alive. Oh, okay.
And the lead is Allison Lohman. Fantastic. I loved that movie. It was so good. Such a good Halloween movie. It's going to be watched.
You know what else we were supposed to do during this Halloween season is Bestie Practical Magic Date.
We have a lot of bestie dates that we need to be doing.
We have so many dates to go on. It's like not even funny. So I just feel like I don't know what it is. This October, this spooky season has been
It doesn't feel
exceptionally
like spooky
busy.
season either.
No, it doesn't. Like my heart was so ready for it and it's not there.
It's the weather.
When this happens though, I find that and it's rare, but I find that then I am like absurdly excited for like Christmas. It's like
It's funny you say that.
okay.
Michael and I just started planning something. I have to talk to you about it off of this.
Oh my God, okay.
It's all Christmas related. It's very exciting.
Fun.
But
Okay.
but yeah, like it seems like I got down in the spooky season and then it was like Sunday I looked at Michael and I was like big Christmas plans. Here it is.
Take it or leave it, bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
And he's like
Um,
fully supportive, and I love it.
I I I'm here for it. I can't wait to hear whatever it is. So anywho, even though spooky season's been less than spooky, I feel in my bones the holiday season will be magic. So we're gonna roll with that.
We have to. We have to
All
embrace
right,
Satan.
we do. Now, while we haven't wasted 13 minutes of the Odd Fam's time, we have wasted 10 minutes of their time. Shall we get this puerty stuerted?
Sure. I've got a very interesting thing, I think.
Oh my God, okay.
It's
Well,
centered
do you
around
want to
something we both love.
go first?
Sure, if you would like me to.
I think you went first last time, but
I
I
did.
want to hear. I want to
I'm,
hear.
I'm bringing up the Titanic again.
Okay, ready. I'm ready.
Okay, so it was brought to my attention that the movie may have some very true bases to it.
Oh my God, Titanic.
Especially with the lead love story.
Shut the front door, really, bitch?
Really, bitch. So, I'm gonna move you and go to my other screen here. So,
Who brought this? Who brought this?
I found a random article.
Oh my God,
Probably
okay.
because my internet browsing history knows I love the Titanic.
The algorithm knows you. It's they're like, we've got this one figured out.
So I'm gonna touch base on a few couples here because
Okay.
they're all, in my opinion, featured in the movie. But let's
Oh my
start
God, okay.
with Kate Florence Phillips and Henry Morley. Kate Phillips was 19 years old and boarded the Titanic with the owner of the shop she worked for, Henry Morley, who was 39, her senior.
Oh, oh
He had a wife and child, but he was leaving them.
oh my God. Oh my
Scandal.
God. Yeah.
And he was going to start a new life with Kate in America, and they were going to elope. Um,
Wow. And then the iceberg was like, the hell you're going to.
Karma.
Yeah, it was like, absolutely not.
So, the story goes Kate didn't want to board a lifeboat. In fact, she jumped off of it several times. Sound familiar?
Girl, okay.
Then he said enough of this and literally threw her on the lifeboat.
He was like, bitch, get the fuck on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He you've got to go. Everything will be fine. And so she did. She went on a lifeboat. She was only in a nightgown, and one of the guardsmen gave her a jumper to keep her warm, but she survived. He unfortunately did not.
Yeah, I mean, it was famous last words, everything's gonna be fine. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, dude, you had to know everything was very much not gonna be fine. But way to
Um,
go, Kate. Way to survive.
when she got to America, it was she had only spent 3 months there before going back to London. But when she got back, she discovered she was pregnant.
Shut up with his kid.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. Okay.
So, with that being said, the other similarity there is Henry gave her a sapphire diamond necklace satin platinum called the Love of the Sea, which she
Shut the
wore proudly
fuck
on board of the Titanic.
up. Did she take it with her, or is it at the bottom of the ocean?
She did take it with her.
Oh my God. Well, that set her up for life.
So, there's clear, obvious similarities here, and this couple may have definitely inspired the love story of Jack and Rose of the
Minus like the whole
Titanic.
class difference thing and everything, but
Yes.
yeah. Wow. Wow. Listen, I still am caught up on the fact that, like, okay, the people who survived this, right, after being part of that tragedy, then had to get back on another boat so they could make
I
it to
know, and then
safety.
go, I know. And
Like,
then some of
hell is a
them
place on
didn't
earth.
even stay in
Yeah.
America, they went back.
And like her, like, what the fuck?
I
I
know,
would
isn't that
never,
torture?
I would landlock myself. I don't want
Forever.
to see a drop of fucking water if I was in their shoes. It's a big hell to the no.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. Wow. So what happened to their kid? Do we know?
So she ended up, her child was born. She ended up becoming estranged from her mother. Like,
Okay.
she didn't know who her father was. Like, there was like a lot of things that went on there. Her daughter ended up doing, at the age of 11 and 12, doing some services for World War II.
What the fuck?
Yeah,
Okay.
I know. I couldn't find more on that, but it was interesting. It wasn't until after Kate died that her granddaughter started digging and finding out the truth of everything.
Holy shit. I mean, to be honest, I probably wouldn't want to talk about it all too.
Yeah, because
Like,
her daughter was having a very difficult time with the fact that she couldn't have her father's name on her birth certificate because there was no
I
way of
see.
proving it.
I see. Okay.
So, and then finding out that your mother is kind of, I don't know, a harlot is, I guess, a good term here. You broke
I
up a
mean,
marriage. You're you were doing all
there
this.
was there was some
There's
shit.
yeah. So yeah, that was allegedly the story that sparked the idea for Titanic. Now, with that being said, here's two other stories that were definitely featured in Titanic. And I
Okay,
know
I'm ready.
one of them's my favorite, so I'm going to save it for last. This one,
Okay.
J.J. Astor and his wife Madeline, they were known as the one of the honeymoon couples on board of Titanic. Um, J.J. Astor was the owner of the Wardolph Astoria Hotel, and his 19-year-old wife.
What
They
are
were
we
according,
doing?
according they were going honeymooning. According to the New York Times, Astor put up and owned more hotels and skyscrapers than any other New Yorker, and he was estimated to be worth as $200 million, and was
I
like the
believe
richest
it.
man on the Titanic. Do you remember in the movie
Yes.
Rose was talking about the scandal of him and his 19-year-old wife and how she was hiding the belly? This
Yes.
was the couple.
Oh my
Quite
God.
scandalous.
Quite scandalous. Holy shit. Okay. All right. Yeah. Well, I mean, I believe that that guy was loaded. The Waldorf is like a big deal.
Now, my favorite couple, that was definitely. This one has been proven time and time again. I've seen many articles on them. I love them. Their story is sad, but
I know
I
this
think they're
one.
adorable. Isadore and Ida Strauss, one of the most popular love stories. That they were the owners of Macy's department store.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Isidore Strauss and his wife Ida, who traveled back from their winter in Europe aboard the Titanic. Once it was clear the ship was sinking, Ida refused to leave her Isidore. She couldn't leave him, and would not get into the lifeboat without him, apparently stating, "I will not be separated from my husband. As we have lived, so we will die together."
Goddamn. Love exists. Is this the bad couple?
Yes. Although Isidore was offered a seat on the lifeboat to accompany her, he refused seating while there were still women and children on board that needed to be saved.
What a gem.
She also reportedly gave her maid, Ellen, a fur coat as she would no longer need it, and insisted that she got on the lifeboat instead of her. There is a plaque for them that can be seen today on the 34th Street Memorial entrance of Macy's.
Is there
I want
I've
to go
been
see that really bad.
I have been by there so many times growing up and I didn't know this. We have to go.
But yes, the couple that you see in the movie that is cuddling in bed as their final moments, that is to pay tribute to them.
Oh my
And
God.
so I'd like to name this little segment The Love Stories of the Titanic. But
Yeah.
I found this also fascinating, and I was like, wow, there is a lot of truth. I mean, besides the Titanic being the truth of it all, right?
But
There
like,
was truth to the whole movie in a sense.
yeah.
And I never realized that. I thought Jack and Rose were fictional characters, obviously, but they had inspiration to it.
There were like some roots there.
Yep.
Yeah.
So there you have it.
Wow. Good job, Bestie. This was a good one. Oh, shit. I don't think I realized. Like, I knew about the Strausses, but like everybody
I've only
else,
ever known about the Strausses. I didn't know
yeah.
about anyone else being featured.
Wow. Well done, you.
Yeah.
That was great. How interesting. Okay. Once again,
Couldn't be
Couldn't be
further
more
from the
different
truth.
from one another. And I, like last week, am a piece of shit. Did not write down which of you recommended this, but shout out to whoever did. Today I'm covering the Gore Orphanage. I can't tell you how many times in my head when I was researching this, I kept saying Gorphanage
Orphanage. I like it.
instead of Gore Orphanage, Gorphanage. So let's talk about the Gore Orphanage. And shout out to the Odd Fam who recommended this. I don't know. I'm so sorry. So, the myth surrounding the place called the Gore Orphanage has been circulating throughout northern Ohio for nearly a century. There are many who claim to hear the voices of orphaned children they believe died when a fire burned the orphanage to the ground in the early part of the 20th century. This is like a big tale around this that has like proliferated in the area where this is. And as it turns out, it is wildly untrue.
Oh.
Walk with me. So, there was an orphanage in Swift's Hollow on Gore Orphanage Road near Birmingham, Ohio, but it wasn't called Gore Orphanage. It never burned down. No one lost their life in the facility from the fire.
Okay.
I mean, I'm going to assume not other causes too, but you never know. The real name of the orphanage was actually the Light of Hope. Some also refer to it as Light and Hope. It was built
I like
by
that name substantially better.
yeah, big time, big time. The the orphanage was built by the Reverend John A. Sprunger and his wife in 1903 after their orphanage located in Bern, Indiana was destroyed by a fire in 1899. So, we do have a little bit of a thread there. Their original one in Indiana was burned down by a fire. Um, in that fire, three orphan girls were reported to have died. So, the name Gore Orphanage was adopted by like thrill seekers, whatever, hooligans, if you will,
Hooligans.
over the over the years because it apparently, got everybody all psyched and like their collective imaginations of murder and mayhem and whatever. And the belief is that the word gore was referring to that of a bloody wound. Thus, of course, it amplified and seemed to like substantiate this sort of like horror story about this place that has actually no roots in reality, as it turns out, except for that distant relation to the original orphanage in Indiana. Um, but in fact, the word actually referred to a topological description of the land running the length of the road in Lorain County, Ohio, where it was located. So, in brief, it was simply a triangular piece of land, hence the name Gore. And so, prior to the orphanage being established along the road, it was called Gore Road. So, the site of the orphanage itself is actually not where most people believe it is. The site that people, thrill seekers, hooligans, hey, you kids, get off my lawn, all those people that they claim to be the orphanage site is actually that of the ruins of a mansion built in 1840, 1841 by a man named Joseph Swift. And when the aging Swift sold the property in 1865, a family by the name of Wilbur bought it. Nicholas Wilbur and his wife lived in the mansion with their son, Miller, and his wife, Henrietta. Nicholas lived there until his death in 1901, and then it was abandoned. His wife had preceded him in death a couple of years prior. Some historians claim that four Wilbur grandchildren died in a diphtheria epidemic in 1893 while living in Rosedale, and they were buried alongside the river. But that story is also reportedly not true. The children did die in an epidemic of black diphtheria, but they were living on a Kellogg family farm in Berlin Heights, Ohio at the time.
Hmm.
And then, anyway, the son and daughter-in-law, Miller and Henrietta, they moved from that farm to a home on State Street in Vermilion, Ohio. He opens up a hardware store. The entire family's buried, in fact, in Maple Grove Cemetery on Mason Road in Vermilion. But anyway, the mansion is not the site of the orphanage, even though people think those ruins are the orphanage. The orphanage was actually located about a quarter mile north of Rosedale, just across the small town of Vermilion and the bridge, the river bridge associated with it. It is on Gore Orphanage Road. just past the spot where it and Sperry Roads meet in the hollow, and the ruins of the orphanage cannot be seen from the road, actually. The most visible remnants of it actually back up to Sperry Road Hill, and they are quite substantial. But few people have actually investigated the true site of the orphanage itself.
Hmm.
Um, the orphanage originally consisted of four sets of farm buildings, and others were added as needed. It covered 543 acres, and as many as 120 children were cared for at one time there. Um, so while the research around this is a little like maybe a bit of a letdown to people who are looking for something spooky, um, there is some other like weird things that happen here. It doesn't contain like ghosts, but that which actually happened at John Sprunger's orphanage in Swift's Hollow makes a lot of orphanage stories pale in comparison. So we're gonna go through it together. So walk with me because this is gonna take us a hot minute to get through all this. But
I'm here.
1898. Burn, Indiana. So this is known as Ida's story. So it was Benny Sutliff's fifth birthday. He rose early to meet the day with the greatest of expectations. His mom had divorced his father a year or two before, um, and was about to remarry. He hurried through his morning rituals of washing his face and hands. He dresses in his like dungarees and like this faded wool shirt, whatever. He runs downstairs. His older brother, John, had promised him that day that he could ride Old Brownie, which was their shaggy horse. And like this kid, Benny was super psyched. He'd spent like this like sleepless night in anticipation of getting to ride the horse. Downstairs, his mom's waiting for him kind of nervously in the kitchen. Um, the time had come to tell her boy. Her youngest daughter, Ruby, was dressed and ready to leave, and when Benny enters the room, little Ruby rushes to him with tears welling in her eyes, crying out, Ruby, tell Mama we can't go today. And then there was like a silence in the room. Um, I guess like they were gonna go out and about or whatever. And he's like, I can't go with you. I'm gonna ride the horse. I'm grown up, like whatever. Um, his mother's betrothed, Mr. Bowens, had two young children of his own. He was not a wealthy man. Benny's mother had actually 10 children in all, and while the eight oldest children had moved west to California and Nevada, this prospect of having four more children to raise was more than Mr. Bowens could handle, or perhaps it was more than he wanted to handle. Um, and and so, therefore, the mom's distress was as evident as her son's. She holds out her arms to him. I think you're going to gather what's about to happen here. Benny backs away. He's got tears in his eyes. His trunk is by the door. Their horse, Old Brownie, is hitched to a buggy at the back of the porch. Um, and that it would have made things so wonderful for him if he could just go off and ride his horse or whatever. And instead, it's about to take him to the orphanage. So, Benny on his fifth birthday gets hauled off to the orphanage along with his sister and a couple others because because they didn't want to have like 10 kids in the house or whatever. And I think that sucks.
That's
Then we have another story here. We have a story of the Reverend himself. So, born into poverty in Munsterberg, Switzerland in 1853, John A. Sprunger migrates to America with his father. After spending their first 3 months in Ohio, they moved to Bern, Indiana. His formal education was rather limited, but he was industrious and he acquired a good working knowledge of both English and the German languages. And he concentrated his efforts on affairs of business and economy. At 20, he bought his like this like machine um, for like $100. It was a threshing machine, and he paid for a mechanic. And with an eye on greater things, he like started a lumber and warehouse business. And he added a grain business eventually. So like he kept building up all this shit, and he opens this general store in Bern. And anyway, 1880, he marries this girl named Katie. Um, they had two children. Unfortunately, both soon died after birth. In 1881, he constructs the first brick store in Bern. He builds a fine residence in the city for he and his wife. His businesses flourish. He builds 12 other houses like in the area to sell to people. Anyway, disaster strikes in 1888. His whole business just like goes up in smoke. There's a $25,000 loss by a fire. And with the help of his many friends, the second mill that he would ever like build, it went up that same year. But I don't think it was ever as successful as what he had going on. So aside from the fire losses, um, they lost their remaining child. One
Hmm.
had died earlier, the second one died. And then it was his resolve and efforts began to move in another direction. So he leaves his business interests over to the management of like close associates or whatever. He devotes all of his effort and time toward religious pursuits. And he devotes himself to evangelist work. Um, nope, that's wrong. Evangelist work is how it's pronounced. And he was ordained. Um, Back home, he builds the first Deaconess Orphanage home in Chicago and establishes others connected with hospitals in several other towns, including the one in Bern, which is ultimately the one that ends up burning down. So, yeah, his orphanage was destroyed by fire, taking the lives of three orphan girls. It was a staggering blow, as he had no insurance on it. The cost of the fire was $9,000. With the help of his good friends, he immediately builds a bigger and supposedly better facility, and it would be the last building he was responsible for in Indiana. Um, Suffering from his losses overall that he faced, he opted to purchase a tract of 543 acres in Birmingham, Ohio, which would become the future new orphanage. And he actually dies there. But anyway, that's kind of his story. There's this one boy, Ben. I have his story kind of documented um, that says when these is like all like quotes around this, so it's like an account. When Mr. Sprunger opened his orphanage in Birmingham, Ohio, I was 9 years old and was sent ahead with the cattle. I slept in the cold in the stockyards in Vermilion until Mrs. Sprunger arrived, and I walked to Birmingham driving the cattle. The boys' dormitory was a building near the road. I helped build the barn when I was 10 years old. We hauled stone for the foundation from the riverbed. We had a buggy shed, a print shop um, where the local paper was published. We had a schoolhouse and a chapel also. We raised our own food, even tapped the maple trees, and my mother brought my clothes. There were 100 children at the time living in that orphanage. My little sister was sent there when she was only 2 years old. I very seldom saw her. The girls and boys each ate in their own dormitory. No, I wasn't happy. Some of the boys had welts on their backs from whippings. We boys were loaned to neighboring farms. I often worked at the Andrus farm. We worked until dusk, and I recall pulling the little express wagon loaded with hogs' heads. Yes, we had enough to eat, but I sometimes think sick cattle were sometimes slaughtered. We bought some food at the Sid Simmons grocery, but often staples were begged. When I was 14, I wanted a bike to help pull the wagon. I guess I thought I earned it in hard work, so I took $5 from the sugar bowl. I was caught, of course. I ran away, and that was the end of my orphanage life. I often lived with the Anderses and learned farming and carpentry. My father was a carpenter, and I've kept in touch with all my brothers and sisters. This isn't a happy story. You can ask any of the Vermilion children who lived there. There were many. So I have like a ton of accounts like this where it sounds like actually it was really common for these families who just had like too many kids and couldn't afford things to like
Yeah.
drop them off at the orphanage. And then they were like beaten. Sounds like conditions were pretty crappy there. Like, you know, all kinds of stuff. Another one is from the Vermilion News. So this is from a newspaper, January 21st, 1909. It says, Last Thanksgiving, Benny Sutliff, who had been at the Light and Hope Orphanage for some 7 years, so this is the original guy, Benny, that I was
Yeah.
talking about, the one hauled away on his birthday, left that institution without leave and came to Vermilion. He took up residence at Peter Hahn's, where he is at present. The people at the home have endeavored to locate him, but until lately have been unable to do so. Though this week, the home authorities made application to Judge Hinman of Lorain County for the appointment of a Mr. Boyd, um, who is stopping at the home as guardian without giving the boy an opportunity. It's alleged of making any choice as allowed by law, he being 14 or 15 years old. Several Vermilion people went to Illyria Wednesday, but the judge firmly refused to give them any satisfaction other than to advise that the guardian whom he appointed would do well to leave the boy with Mr. Hahn, as it is a good home. A rehearing of the case was asked without result. It is alleged that things are not what they should be at the home, and the boy in question complains of ill treatment at the hands of those in charge. This is not the first time such allegations have been made, and it is reported that another boy is in or near Vermilion, having run away. Some are of the opinion that an investigation is in order. The peculiar situation in question is, has the boy a right to choose his own guardian? Is he a resident of Lorain or Erie County? According to law, a man would be, after living in the county, the same length of time. The home authorities claimed that the boys were enticed away by some person or person who were at the time at the home, and that they were unruly. The gist being that essentially somebody lured them away from the orphanage because someone at the home thought the boys were unruly. They, meaning the orphanage officials, also say that the story of ill treatment is not true, that they are, as a rule, too lenient, if anything, with the children, and that they are cared for as well as possible under the circumstances. So you have this like weird newspaper article that comes out with these accusations, and essentially it seems like nothing's done. And there are just like a ton of accounts like this. There are girls who run away from there, wading across the Vermilion River to find refuge with other women who take them in. Um, there are other boys who run away, and they kind of share similar stories of like alleged misusage and abuse. Um, and honestly, one kid, Tom Baker, who was like 16 when he ran away, referred to himself as an inmate of the home.
Oh, wow.
I know. So there's like a lot of really sad stuff about it. There's like this whole thing where like Mrs. Sprunger and her husband tried to like exonerate themselves from like statements made by a lot of the orphans under their charge. Um, they say, we have butter every morning. We have food for them on the table, ham, bacon, whatever. Like, they like make this whole thing that like,
Sound great,
yeah,
but it's
whatever.
not.
And like, there's this one story of like a little girl that 4 or 5 of the girls would bathe in the same water that was carried from the roof of a building into the tank in a bathroom. There's bed bugs and lice. Like there's all this crap. So like it was a really crappy environment, but there isn't this story that like it burned down and it's haunted and things like that. It's just like a really sad story of an orphanage of the time where kids were mistreated.
Yeah.
Um, and the fact that they're being fed sick cattle, things like that, the whole thing's pretty sickening. But
They're being, I was going to say being treated like animals, but I would say even worse than that. So,
yeah, yeah. Eventually, there was an investigation launched. Like I said, the Sprungers tried to like put stuff forward to like kind of exonerate themselves. Mr. Sprunger dies 2 years after the investigation. The doors of the place permanently close, July of 1916. By that time, management of the home had passed into the control of the Friends Church of Cleveland. And the home had never been a true financial success. For a long time, it was understood that it would have to be closed. The children were dispersed throughout the community or returned to their relatives or guardians. The few who were left were taken back to Bern, Indiana by Mrs. Sprunger, and the nightmare was over for the children of Gore Orphanage. And ironically, a little spooky, it was exactly 13 years after it had opened.
okay, I like that.
Right? Kind of spooky. But anyway, it's what you have here is a classic case of mistreatment. I would
Yeah.
say not totally to the extent where you would see like in asylums and mental facilities, but like these
Still
kids went through some
terrible.
shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's Gore Orphanage. It's not like the murder house. I think the name would like
The
have you
name is
believe,
very
but
spooky, and one would argue that what happened in there was spooky, just because children don't deserve to be treated that way.
totally.
You did a very good job, though. I
Thanks,
have to say,
Basti.
like, this was very interesting. Regardless, I think orphanages over the times really do get overlooked because you think, oh, it's an orphanage, nothing bad happens there. No,
There's
no, they
plenty.
do. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I feel sad for all those poor kids.
I'm so sad he got dropped off on his birthday.
On his fifth fucking birthday, he was
So
so happy
fucked
to
up.
fucking ride old Brownie. I was so pissed when I
So
found that
fucked
account. I
up.
was like, this sucks for Benny. So, anyway, to whoever did send this in, a big thank
Thank
you. It was
you.
an interesting topic. Um, if people want to go explore the ruins, they can. I don't think you're going to really find any ghosts there, but
You
that's
never
what I've
know.
got. I mean, you never know. There might be some. That's what I've got. And what an episode. This was like a
Yeah,
very
what an episode.
historical episode.
We
Yeah.
like it. We love history here on Oddities.
We love to see it. And actually kind of pretty close time period to one another too.
Yeah, it
Not
is.
too dissimilar. And until next time.
Stay strange.